Hey, what's going on, y'all? Today I've got a header comparison. This is going to be the PPE HR version, the ISR, and this is DE HR VHR. And then the Speedzone one, same thing, it's the DE HR VHR. And for the PPE, this works on a DE and VHR, but they make 3 different versions. And the DE is a non-step, meaning the primary diameter is 1 diameter. This HR version is a stepped, just like the VHR, but the merge collector location is much further down, versus the VHR is closer, kind of where the ISR and the speed zones are. It's further up, and it also has a decreasing diameter right after it that they use as a choke to help with increasing low end, mid-range performance. So I'll put a image to show what the VHR looks like in comparison to the HR.
Here is a comparison between the HR and VHR design. You can see that the HR has longer runners, which favors lower RPM peak torque, while the VHR has shorter runners that favors upper RPM max power. The VHR also incorporates a 2.5-inch choke right after the merge, and this helps to bring up the mid-range. The VHR also has an earlier step design in junctions with the shorter runners. And then you'll also notice that the VHR cylinder 4 and 6 has different pipe routing compared to the HR. Here's a better look at the choke design on the VHR version. Here's a side-by-side comparison between the PPE VHR and the ISR. Common design features is that they share similar locations of merge and the step locations of the piping.
But for now, we're just going to compare these two. I went ahead and took some measurements. So pretty much it's focusing on the inlet side and then just kind of working our way down to the outlet. First, we'll look at the inlet sizing. With regards to that, I did the measurements for the width and then the length, then multiplied that times pi, and then got the cross-sectional area because it's an elliptical shape. For the PPE, I got a cross-sectional area of 4,782. The width was 44.9, and then the length was 33.9. ISR cross-sectional area 4,293. Width was 43.56. The length was 31.37. Then we got the Speedzone. That was cross-sectional area of 4,488 with a width of 44.88, then a length of 31.83. So we're talking about percentage differences. The PPE is 10.8% more in cross-sectional area than the ISR, and is 6.4 more than the Speedzone. And then the Speedzone is 4.4% more cross-sectional area than the ISR. So that's kind of surprising to me, because I thought these were going in. I thought these two were pretty much going to be like exact replicas. I mean, they had the same pipe bends and everything, but there seems to be some differences. Then the next thing I measured was the flange thickness, just to kind of see if maybe one of them used a really cheap thin flange or something, but they're all pretty good. PPE being at 9.71 thickness millimeters, of course. ISR at the thickest with 11.84, and the Speedzone at 9.49. So nice and thick. Then I looked at the primary outer diameter, and because these are all step design, with 2 different outer diameters, I took note of that. For the PPE, we got 44.32, then stepped up to a 48.08. So on their website, they advertise this as a 1.75 inch, stepped up to a 1.88. Then for the ISR, we got 41.58 for the first diameter, stepped up to a 44.55. Then Speedzone, we have a 41.73, stepped up to a 45.58. So as you can see, the PPE has significant diameter over the other two. Another thing to kind of notice is the PPE step location is the same for all three. The ISR is a little different. You can kind of tell between cylinder 1, 2, and this is driver's side. This is cylinder 2, 4, 6. So 2 is much sooner, then you got 4, then you got 6 being later. Then the Speedzone is similar to the PPE, where all the steps are roughly in the same location. Another point I want to focus on was the inlet, the port inlet. So if you take a look at the PPE, it's very smooth all the way in, from the flange inlet to the diameter. Like, very nice, high quality. When you look at the ISR, because of the weld, you can see that there's like a step, and then because of that, it decreases. So it's not super smooth. And you can tell that's because of, that's a weld right there between the flange and the piping. Then the same goes for the Speedzone. Kind of see it a little easier here because it's new. Right. So not super smooth here, especially with this bend. See. Moving on to the next measurement. It is the pipe length to the merge. So PPE advertises this as an equal length. So not sure if it's because of how I'm measuring it on the surface. I use the string to follow the bends of each pipe. But so again, I said this is on passenger side, so it's cylinder 2, 4, and 6. So cylinder 2 was 810 millimeters. So that's measuring from the flange all the way to the end of the merge. Then cylinder 2 also 810, so that makes sense. Then because of how cylinder 6 comes out, this one had a much longer length, so that came out to 950 millimeters. For the ISR, cylinder 2 was 680 on my first measurement. 4 was 600, and cylinder 6 was 500. Then I kind of took a different surface and measured it, so then I got 660, 580, and also 500 again. So it kind of looks like the step is roughly 20 millimeters between these two, depending on how I measured it. Then for the Speedzone, I got first attempt, I got 630, 545, and 445. Second attempt on a different length, I got 615, 625, and 455. So the last one was the same. So I tried to keep the measurement surface the same. So if I measured, this pipe on the top side, I tried to do the top side on all of them. So that's how I measured it. We got merge collector length. So I measured the collector length of how far this was. The PPE being 115, ISR being the shortest at 80, and then the Speedzone at 125. And then the distance to the flange from the merge collection, PPE at 40, you got 230 and 245. Merge collector type. So PPE offers two styles. This is the preferred parallel merge collector. This design is the best in terms of flow and scavenging because it allows all the piping and the gas to converge very smoothly. So you can kind of see, well, hopefully you can see. Wow, this is tough, sorry. I need light. Let's see if I can step out and show you guys. I don't know if you can kind of see how smooth that is. You see how the pipes stay their diameter all the way down. So the other version is a spiked design. So where it's a form collector like this. So what this looks like is pretty much just open. So there's a spike that comes up and that helps guide the air to make it smooth. I have an illustration that compares a standard form collector, which is what these two have, and a spiked design, not a parallel, but a spiked design, and it shows how the air moves and it makes it that much more smoother. So I'll put that illustration in with this video in a little bit. So this is also what you're paying the extra $1 for on the PPEs, whether it's the parallel or the spiked design of merge collection. All right, so we're moving towards the end. The outlet OD that's here, we got 62.95, 63.49, and 63.44. Then we got the outlet inner diameter. This is 59.92, 59.69, and 60.97. So the Speedzone does have a slightly bigger inner diameter, almost a mil over the PPE, and definitely over a mil for the over the ISR. But that's not, the mil doesn't make a significant difference because it's one outlet. And then the flange, we got the thicknesses. They're all fairly similar. I mean, 9.64, 9.92, and 9.54. And then weight, PPE being the heaviest at 13.8. Then we got 10 and 10.8 for the Speedzone. So that is mainly the design and like the technical comparison between the two. So, in the end, this is, I think it's $1,600 to $1,800 header. ISR, you can get this for, I think nowadays they go for like $700, and then the Speedzone, this is like $600 at the moment, maybe $500, I think. So I have had 2 friends run these with no fitment issues. So fitment is definitely on point, definitely comparable to the ISR. I mean, if you're looking at the pipe design between the two, it's pretty much a replica. So, of course, as you can see, the The collector is different. I have had people tell me that this is an older design, ISR, than some of the newer design does use this longer collector. So if it does, then it does pretty much make it the same. The main difference is, like I mentioned, the step locations. This being all the same and this being spread out. And then the bend is the same, but you'll kind of notice that this has two weld points, a weld joint here and then a step. This one only has one joint as a step. Same for this one. Only cylinder 6 has 2. The Speedzone has 3. So kind of similar. Oh no, the ISR has 3 also. Okay, interesting. And of course, the ISR has proven to, provide good gains for the price. So at this point, I would highly recommend the Speedzone just because it's, a little cheaper. It gives the same gains. I mean, as you saw, the diameters is a little bigger, same pipe design. So I feel like you can't really lose much going with that. Other long tube headers to consider are fasten tensions. Motordyne has a long tube, and of course OBX. OBX has 2 different designs. The V1 is a fasten tensions replica, and then the V2 is supposed to be, some say it's supposed to be a VHR PPE. Some say it's a Motordyne replica, but I've only seen one person in the Facebook group. His name is Christian. He's installed in DynoTune with good results. So I hope this video helps you to decide if you want to spend the dollar on the PPE or stick with the ISR. And then now, of course, you know about the Speedzone. So thanks, guys.